Okay, let's get into this. Welcome, everyone. We're doing a deep dive today into some really interesting source material you sent over about manipulating plant dormancy.
That's right. That natural pause plants take.
Yeah, exactly. But these sources, they talk about more than just understanding it. They're talking about actively controlling it, even shortening it quite a bit.
And the potential payoff highlighted here is, well, it's pretty significant. We're talking greater yields, much better efficiency, and more stable growth cycles, really stabilizing things.
It sounds almost like hacking the plant's calendar.
In a way, yes, the core idea seems to be influencing that fundamental biological timing.
Right. And the mechanism that keeps coming up in these sources, it's about enhancing the plant's own internal clock.
It's circadian rhythm, yeah. That sophisticated timing system they have.
So that's our mission for this dive. Let's unpack, based strictly on your sources, how this manipulation is supposed to work and, why it matters for agriculture, for growing food.
Okay, so dormancy itself, the sources explain, it's complex. It's triggered by things like, temperature, light, external cues.
Sure, the season's changing.
Exactly. But it's also deeply tied to internal signals.
Yeah.
And that's where the circadian clock comes in, regulating things from the inside.
And the sources say the potential isn't just about waking the plant up sooner.
Well, yes, but it's more nuanced. It's using that manipulation to actually boost and synchronize the other processes that the rhythm controls downstream, like growth itself.
Okay, that's where I'm really curious. How do the sources say they actually do this?
Hmm.
How does manipulating dormancy connect to making the circadian rhythm, work better?
Good question. The sources lay out a few paths. One big one is using plant hormones
Okay.
or chemicals that act like them.
Hormones? Okay.
Yeah, gibberellin and GAs, they get mentioned
Yeah.
specifically. There are natural signaling molecules involved in growth.
Right.
And the sources indicate you can apply them externally to either break dormancy or sometimes stop it from starting.
So you're basically adding more of a natural go signal from the outside.
Kind of, yeah. And importantly, the sources suggest these signals actually talk to the plant's clock genes. They influence how those timing genes are expressed.
Ah.
So by fiddling with the GA levels at the right time, you can apparently nudge the plant's internal schedule. You enhance the rhythmic expression of genes needed to start growth, sort of synchronizing that wake-up call.
Interesting. So it's not just hitting it with a sledgehammer. It's more like fine-tuning the existing timing system.
Precisely. It interfaces with those precise mechanisms.
Okay, so hormones is one way. What other approaches are in the source material?
Genetic manipulation is another major one they discuss.
Right, like gene editing?
Could be. Or other techniques. It involves directly targeting the genes controlling dormancy, or maybe more importantly, the core clock genes themselves.
Okay.
The sources describe things like making certain genes more active or silencing others to change how sensitive the plant is to those dormancy cues from the environment.
Or to tighten up the clock's own timing.
Exactly. Make it more precise, more reliable. The sources suggest that by doing this, you make sure growth or flowering or fruiting things under circadian control happen more predictably.
Better synchrony.
Yeah, leading to more uniform development.
Yeah.
And potentially, multiple harvests where maybe you only got one before.
Wow, okay. And was there a third method mentioned?
Yes, advanced breeding techniques, which might sound a bit old school, but here it's about specifically selecting plants that already have optimized dormancy responses.
So finding the ones that are naturally better timed.
Sort of, or have really robust circadian rhythms, breeding for traits like needing less cold weather to break dormancy or being less sensitive to day length changes.
You're picking winners whose own genetics already favor a shorter pause or a more stable clock.
That seems to be the idea presented in the sources, yes.
Okay, so let me see if I've got this. We have chemical signals like hormones that mesh with the clock. We have direct genetic tweaks, either to dormancy pathways or the clock itself, and selective breeding for plants with good timing traits built in.
That's a good summary.
And the common thread, what ties all these together, according to your sources, is the impact on the circadian rhythm, making it stronger, more synchronized, just more effective.
That really is the core takeaway from this material. If the internal clock is robust and the signals are lined up, the plant just does everything else better when it comes out of dormancy.
Like cell division, getting nutrients.
Yeah, photosynthesis, all the growth processes, they happen more efficiently, more rapidly.
Which brings us back to that potential we started with. The sources conclude this leads to, well, more effective year-round growth if the climate allows.
Significantly greater yields, too, potentially.
Right, bigger yields from the same plant over the same time,
Yeah.
and just much more stable, predictable production cycles overall.
Which really sets up a final thought, based purely on this source material for you, the listener, to think about.
Go on.
If we can achieve this kind of stable, enhanced, year-round plant growth, what does that really imply for the future? For how we produce food globally and, for sustainability?
Definitely gives you something to chew on. Thanks for bringing these sources in for the deep dive today.